Howdy and good evening. Welcome to the City of Hall. On behalf of the City of Apache Junction and the City Council and staff and our many partners, we welcome you to the State of the City. This is my first State of the City event as mayor, and also somewhat unconventional since many of you have been watching or also watching from home. But we've held the event for the last 3 years and tell you about what's happening in your city, in our community. And although this virus has cut a lot into our activities, it doesn't stop us from celebrating our home, introducing you to our new representatives. It also won't stop us from telling you about our important partners in the evolution of the Apache Junction. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce our council members that are acknowledged here. And we have Gail Evans, Vice Mayor Krista Rizzi, Robert Schroeder, losing name, Kelly Townsend, or not, excuse me, Kelly Grimble, excuse me. Blowing it already. Braden Biggs and Tess Nesser. And we also have the Chamber of Commerce CEO, Dennis Hart. Denise. I'm doing fantastic here, aren't I? And I don't see any others on it. And we have some I know are online. County Supervisor. Oh yeah, County Supervisor. Hey, didn't have a note here. Jeff Surdy. Thank you. And I'm sure there's many other VIPs online, but I don't know who's there, so can't introduce them. Thank you for joining us. As you may remember at our previous State of the City events, the former mayor, Jeff Surdy, had his faithful companion, Mishka, the dog, with him. So I was thinking I should bring in our miniature horse, Shadow, and as my support companion animal. But I know he'd get bored just standing around and would cause a disruption. And his disruption would be very loud. So I was thinking of, who else I could bring in. And then I happened to think of the city's free-roaming horse that the city has taken possession of. And we've given her the name of Gypsy, but didn't want to have her get the stage fright being up here. And besides, we don't have a large enough poop bag for her. So this year's State of the City event, I've decided to show pictures and move on. The year 2020 may have been a challenging one for all of us, but it also saw an election of a new mayor, and I am very humble that you have done that for me, brought me on, as well as 3 new council members. Back in August, Kelly Grimble, Tess Nesser, and Braden Biggs were elected to the posts of our city council. All have served their community, or our community, in their own way, but none has been elected to any offices before, as they were this last year in Apache Junction. Now, how well do you know them? First one is going to be, first off, you may have seen Lady Tess at the Renaissance Festival, but did you know Miss Nesser has served on multiple city boards for years and in her adopted hometown, and was in the first Citizen Leadership Institute class over 20 years ago. Let's get to know Councilmember Tess Nesser.
What was my inspiration for running for city council? I had been prompted by a couple people to run for city council, but I always turned the idea down because I was already sitting on Apache Junction's Planning and Zoning Commission, Parks and Rec Commission, and Library Board. And those three things were not only very satisfying, but they kept me busy and I enjoyed doing what I was doing. But this last time, back in February, when it was came up again, I thought, there was 3 positions going to be open and there was 4 people running. And I thought, you know, if I were to run, that would make 5 people for 3 positions. And when you think about it mathematically, that came out to be a 60% chance of winning whether you did anything or not to even campaign. And I thought, you know, even Las Vegas won't give you those odds. I was born, my family is from Ohio. I was born in Columbus, Ohio, but I never grew up in Ohio. When I was 2.5 years old, something around that age, we moved to South Carolina. And then from there, we went to Japan. From Japan, we were in Dayton, Ohio at Wright-Patterson. From there, we went to Washington, D.C., and from there to Hawaii. Where I'm from is where I live at. People always say, what's your hometown? Well, I don't have a hometown, but I will tell you that Apache Junction has become my hometown. I've been retired from Pinell County Attorney's Office since June of 2010. I worked there for a little over 24 years. And what I was for many of the years with the county attorney's office was a supervisor in the child support division of non-attorney personnel. I did that for about 20 years. I've been a volunteer for years. First, it was actually with the Boys and Girls Club back in the mid-1990s. I've been on the board with the Apache Junction Boys and Girls Club now for, you know, almost around 25 years. I don't remember exactly when. But then I got involved with the city. And I was appointed first to the library board and to Parks and Rec Commission. And then a couple years later, I was appointed to planning and zoning. Two of the things that I think are important, if these are 2 things that I can really have any change or do anything to make a change. One is absentee landlords who do not upkeep their properties. Whether that is business or residential. I'm looking at this from an economic standpoint. We have a town that we want to bring employers here so that the community can get jobs here in Apache Junction without having to go to Mesa and Phoenix and other cities to get a job. Why can't you work right here? But to get those employers to come here, we're going to have to offer them a nice community. And the other is that I want to get a trade school here in Apache Junction. Our students should not have to go to EVIT in Mesa, or I should say they shouldn't have to go to Mesa to go to EVIT. Why don't we bring EVIT to AJ? Or also the high school, more trades, the community college, Central Arizona College. We need full-time education right here in Apache Junction. So I seriously want to delve into the possibility of having a trade school here in Apache Junction. Well, my perspective on growth for Apache Junction is this. Number one, it's inevitable. We can't stop it. There's nothing we can do. We want to retain our Western lifestyle. We want to definitely retain our horse community, but we can't stop growth. But I do believe that we can control growth by how we do our zoning. What's coming up is the 2,800 acres that have just been auctioned to DR Horton. So what's going to be very important is how that land gets zoned. That land is all south of the 60. That doesn't mean it's going to directly affect all the land that's north of the 60. And I want to assure everyone that as far as I'm concerned, the large acreage that's above the 60 is going to stay that way.
Thank you. Thank you, Tess. Also elected was Kelly Grimble, who is a third-generation Pinell County resident. If you understand that the name sounds familiar, well, that's her husband, Ted, who is constable here in Pinell County. And Kelly has made a name for herself in the world of criminal justice all on her own. Let me introduce Councilmember Kelly Grimble.
Well, let's see, what really did inspire me to get involved in running for city council? I worked for the City of Phoenix prosecutor's office for nearly 30 years. But actually, when I worked for the City of Phoenix, I had the opportunity to work for the city attorney. And in that capacity, I worked with city council for the City of Phoenix. And so it was really an eye-opening experience. It was interesting to see how the council and city staff and the community worked together to make it the best community it could be. And I thought, you know, maybe someday I would like to do that. So that someday came, and here I am. I am married. My husband's name is Ted Grimble, and actually Ted is the constable for the Apache Junction Justice Court. I have a smart and beautiful, we have a smart and beautiful daughter. She graduated from high school in May, June, and so she's in college now. We're very proud of her. I'm actually an Arizona native, believe it or not. Actually 3 generations. My father's mother was born and raised in Florence. And actually not only is it Arizona as a whole, Pinell County. I'm very proud of where Apache Junction is, where Pinell County is, and we like the open spaces and the openness. It reminds me very much of my hometown, which is Globe, Arizona. So we purchased, and so we've been here. Now we've come back and forth some from other parts of the valley, mostly the east side, because of course I did work in the City of Phoenix, a little bit of a hike, but we love Apache Junction and are so happy to be here. I am currently retired. I have been for a few years. Like I said, I retired from the City of Phoenix, from the prosecutor's office. Some involvement in some things that I've done around the community, and my husband was actually on the board of directors for CAFA, and so my daughter and I, and this has been a few years ago, we did some volunteer work at CAFA, and then we've worked with the Boys and Girls Club, my husband and I, and primarily fundraising events for the Boys and Girls Club on the East Valley. Most recently, I have become a volunteer hearing officer for the Apache Junction Justice Court. I think it's important for me and for the other council members, as from what I understand how they believe as well, is obviously there's going to be growth, and we want growth, but we have to manage it well. So kind of my thought process is I want to try to balance the growth and also maintain that rural atmosphere. So I would like to see most of the growth in terms of to the south of US 60. I want to keep the rural areas rural. I love, we love horse properties and the openness, which brought us here in the first place. I know we have a lot of challenges and issues that will come before the council, which I look forward to helping advance the city. I do have to say I'm a little bit concerned about Proposition 207, the recreational marijuana, and how that's going to affect our community, how that's going to affect our police department. And I think that that's something that we have to be very careful about as we set up guidelines and rules and ordinances with regard to that. So I'm excited about helping mold that situation. Also, the things that I've talked about before, just in terms of I want us to remain rural. I want people to have their horse privileges. We love horses and we love the openness that Apache Junction is famous for.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, welcome aboard, excuse me, on our third councilman is our resident nonprofit professional. He made his mark far beyond the pixels of Facebook, a product of our city, having moved here as a kid and graduated from the Apache Junction High School. Here is Councilmember Braden Biggs.
Public office has always been something that I want to do. Apache Junction's a lot. It's home for me. It's where I think, even though I wasn't born here, I was raised here, I grew up here, it's what I know. Every time I've thought about moving away, there's just something about that mountain and something about the community that just keeps me coming back. So I was born in LaPorte, Indiana in July of '92. So yes, that means I'm only 28 years old. I came here after my biological parents got a divorce. My mom, my brother and I moved to Alaska, where my mom was born and raised, and my brother was born and raised for part of his life there. And then we ended up moving from Alaska to here when my mom and my stepdad met, and he went back and forth and was kind of a reverse winter visitor because he would work up there in the summer and down here in the winter. My mom tells a really funny story about she came out in August or September and it was negative 20 degrees in Alaska, and she arrived at Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport and it was 120 degrees here, and she jokes that, they opened the airplane door and she already knew she was moving here. So that's what brought us here. So my background has been nonprofits and nonprofit management. Earlier in 2020, I was laid off due to COVID-19. And from there, one of the things that I was actually working on was starting my own nonprofit consulting business, as well as my own nonprofit. So throughout this year, of course, we've had some stumbling blocks happen along the way. I've actually been working to get my own business up and running, and my own nonprofit with a couple of other community members up and running, and we're looking to launch in January of 2021. So lots is coming down the pipeline in January. I really got involved in the city outside of just watching council meetings or showing up when I needed to, or helping on the various campaigns for any of the elected officials. In 2017, through the CLI class, or the Citizens Leadership Institute, took that and really got a really good in-depth view of what was there. From there is when I applied to join boards and commissions in 2017. I was appointed to the Library Board, the Municipal Planning Commission, and the Board of Adjustments. Served one term on all of those in various officer capacities in a couple of them. And then 2020, I was debating, as I knew all three of my board commissions were coming up, was I going to run for office this year, or was I going to allow myself to be reappointed? I kind of swore in 2018 I wasn't going to be on the ballot in 2020, but more and more people started pushing me towards it. So I did, and I'm obviously very glad I did. The biggest challenge that I see is growth south of the 60th. This is a conversation that's been happening for a long time. We all know it's coming. I think none of us at this point can really deny that Apache Junction is poised to grow. The challenge that I see with that is how we're going to grow. I think that our council and our staff and our city as a whole needs to be comfortable with the word no. If it doesn't fit what Apache Junction wants, then it's okay to say no. It's okay to say, hey, you know what, this is a great idea, maybe not in this location, let's move it, let's, work around it. Is there anything that we can do? Or, hey, it's just not gonna work, and there's plenty of communities that it might, but we're just not one of them. The other thing I think is creating a balance between what I affectionately call the tale of two cities. We're gonna have the older Apache Junction Main Street, Apache Trail, the ones who've been here for a long time, and then of course all of these new buildings and new growth that happens south of the 60. And tying those two together so that you don't go from new AJ to old AJ and it looks like it's two completely different cities or two totally different communities. I want to see the open spaces and trails on there. I would love the opportunity for our horse community who's, on the northern regions of our city to be able to ride down to the southern regions of our city and, where they can go to those restaurants or those businesses and they can tie their horse up to the hitching post or whatever that might look like. Our bikers, our hikers, so many opportunities for that outdoor lifestyle that I think when we say we're the home of the superstitions, we have to embrace that. And that means that we have to embrace that on all sides of the city. The one thing that I'd like to add to that at least is education. And I've had a lot of conversations with the other elected officials, city staff, community. If I can do nothing else over the next 4 years but to better educate the community on the processes in how council looks at something or how staff looks at something, or how things even come to fruition, that's my biggest goal. I'm always about trying to educate people and getting them to understand the importance of what local government actually does and how we go about that, and really making sure that they have a better understanding so that they're better informed as to what decisions that we're making, because I think that with these big decisions that are coming up, we need their input. We need the community's input, and a better informed citizen makes a better informed council and a better decision that we get to make at the end of the day.
Thank you, Braden. I'm going to go back to acknowledgments of the dignitaries. I want to represent or show State Representative Jacqueline Parker has shown up. Thank you for attending. Thank you. Next part of the program is looking to the south, a few miles south. You may remember that our city is poised to make an important move in the future. The city is in the process of annexing 6,600 acres just south of our current city limits. This first 4 square miles of the parcels have been auctioned off to 2 developers who plan to build hundreds of homes over the next several years. It will be the next exciting area in development in our part of the valley. But that kind of growth has to be done intelligently, at the right pace, with lots of help. In fact, we have developed tremendous partnerships with several key players in our community, including our local utilities, our water district and sewer district, and the fire district, and also the school district. In Apache Junction, those entities are separate, but we make sure that they will all work together. Here is an overview of these partners and how they will fit into the fabric of Apache Junction.
Hello, my name is Mike Loggins. I'm the Apache Junction Water District Director here. Over the years, the district has transformed. We've enhanced our facilities, we've built tanks, extra booster pump stations, had an interconnect with the city of Mesa to provide some redundancy for the water district itself. When I came on board in 2013, the water district was in the process of designing and building a water treatment plant. The current plant that we have here was finished in roughly 2015. It's a 2 million gallon a day surface water plant that treats Central Arizona Project water from the Colorado River. Done a great job of going through that. The plant's been running for about 5 years now. We're also in the process of expanding the plant to add a raw water impound so that if something does happen to the Colorado River for a short term, we're able to supply our customers with water along the way. Currently, we get a lot of questions from customers. Do we have enough water here in Apache Junction? Do we have enough water underground? How do we supply our customers with the water? So we're working at that constantly, every day, every year, every possible moment that we have. Over the past few years, we went out and purchased Gila River Indian Community Water on a lease agreement for 100 years. We also secured non-Indian agriculture water, roughly about 1,000 acre-feet also. Currently, we are only using about 1,500 acre-feet per year. So in total of our portfolio, including the ones I mentioned earlier, we have roughly about 7,500 acre-feet of water available to the Apache Junction area. So plenty of water for our existing demands, plenty of water for new customers, and also for this first stage of state land, we believe we have plenty of water for that.
I'm Darren England. I'm the district manager for SMCFD, the sewer district. Several years ago during our long-range financial planning, we added a rapid growth scenario with our board of directors. And what that did, it allowed us to plan for an option of faster growth than we had been seeing throughout the city. Now with the state land sale, that seems to be a reality. As part of that planning, we were able to make key improvements to the treatment plant, and that allowed us to expand from 2 million gallons per day to 3 million gallons per day. I think from our perspective, from the board of directors and myself and staff, we're all really excited for the growth. The future potential it has for this area, for the city, is just amazing. Some of the concerns we have are being able to keep up with growth. So as everyone's aware, the housing market's going great right now, and if it continues to go as great as it's going, as good as it's going, we want to make sure that we can keep up with that growth. And as a utility provider, we're really interested in seeing what we can do to help make that project happen. We're working with the developer to make sure that we have the right capacity and the right planning so we can connect all the property down there to the sewer district.
The fire district's been here since 1955. And it was a volunteer system, eventually became paid on call, meaning when they got a call, they got paid for each call, but it's voluntary. The fire district went full-time about 1984, we first paid people. And then about 92, we started the auto aid system. And which is unique to this part of the country, the auto aid system is 23 auto aid cities in the valley. We're a combination department that runs fire and medical. And since that time, we've grown professionally, and we went from 1 station on Ocotillo to 5 stations, one which has 2 units. Okay, there's a couple of things you got to do to plan for growth. Right now, we're capped out. Proposition 117, when that went into effect, did hurt us in fire districts in general because our primary source of revenue is property tax. And it limits only going up 5% a year. But it can go down 20, 30%, and that's what actually happened in 2008 with the growth. So we're projecting, based on our call load, making sure that we can provide the 4 minutes of golden standard of response time. So we try to project that. One of the things with the auto aid system, we project 4-minute response time throughout the entire valley so that we don't duplicate services with Mesa or Queen Creek, and both those units will be responding down there, or entities. So we look at that too and decide whether or not we have to plan for bonds, how we might get some more revenue sources. This is a great opportunity for us because we're going to be getting a lot more homes. So having more homes down there, single family homes, is more revenue for us. It gives us more opportunity. We're anxious to grow too. And our personnel is excited about it. And it's almost a point like Christmas as a kid. You can't wait for it to come and you're wondering if it's ever going to come.
Hi, I'm Krista Anderson. I'm the superintendent of Apache Junction Unified School District. We are one of the largest geographic school districts in the state of Arizona, so we always knew that there was that potential that land would be released and that homes would be being built in the future. Was that going to be 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road? That was our unknown equation. And so it was really great when we found out that the land had sold and that we had the opportunity to be able to service more students within our schools. Some of the challenges that I kind of worried about is the fact that it is so far away from our other campuses. The nearest elementary school is 7 miles away, and it's about 3.5 miles to the junior high and the high school from that location. So I'm a prospective parent, I are a prospective family. I look at this development, I see that there is going to be a school that's 3 blocks away. That's a very appealing piece for a young family. And so we want to be that school that's in that community. And so those are those conversations that need to be made further. One of the concerns that we have within AJUSD is to be able to put an elementary school within that new development. Unfortunately, due to the capacity of some of our other campuses, we will not be able to qualify for SFB for some additional funds to come into our district. So if we do want to build a new elementary school in that development so that those students do attend the school within their boundaries, and that they become a part of this community, we're going to need to invest in that elementary school. And so an elementary school ranges anywhere from $13 to $15 million, and we'll need to look at that in the future if that's an option that our board wants to look at. If we don't have an elementary school there, what happens? What happens is some kids will get bused to either Desert Vista or Four Peaks, or those students are going to opt to attend a charter school or moving into a school in another district that might be a little bit closer. If those kids at the elementary level start somewhere else, they usually will move up that system and remain there. And that will be something that will hurt our district and hurt our community in the future. And so it is essential that we really take a look at that. And is that a place that we want to invest in the future because of some long-term implications within our district? Know that we're doing great things in our school district to move it forward, and kids are our priority, and kids will always be the basis of all of our decisions.
Working together, we will move further into the future in a smart way that keeps those who love our rural community while also allowing the new residents of our city. This helps sustain the city economically and improves the quality of life for all. Let me say thank you for the people who made tonight's possible, including members of the City Management Office who organized this event, and all of you to join in our celebration. Thank you to all the city employees who continue to make Apache Junction a wonderful place to live, work, play, and own a business. Hopefully, next year we can all get together and celebrate our fantastic city. And again, my companions and I want to say thanks and hope you enjoyed this event. Thank you for attending, and good evening. Thank you.